You're seeing on your screen scenes of massive flooding in Leyte due to Tropical Depression Agaton. The non-stop rains due to Tropical Depression Agaton have inundated a quarter of the province, with the towns of Baybay and Abuyog heavily battered after a landslide buried several families.
Dozens have now been reported dead as a result of the massive landslide. That's according to local officials. But the NDRRMC, as of this afternoon, has only reported 3 deaths, all of which are from Region 11. This is still up for verification. They estimated that over 130,000 people are affected by the tropical depression Agaton. Time for the day's biggest headlines. I'm Gretchen Ho.
I'm Robbie Alampay. You're watching The Big Story. A harrowing start to the Holy Week for residents of Leyte, as dozens are now feared to have died as Tropical Depression Agaton continues to bring rains to the province.
While many were able to evacuate, some residents were trapped as a landslide buried several barangays in Leyte. And to give us updates on that, we have Romel Lopez on the ground. Romel, how's the situation over there?
Yes, Rob and Gretchen, I'm here currently at the Palo Leyte capital, wherein torrential rain that inundated the province has been on and off. But the whole picture, the whole damage in the city, in the province of Leyte has been very evident since Typhoon Agaton has rampaged the area. Several bodies covered in tarpaulin. This was the aftermath of a landslide in Baybay City in Leyte. As early as Sunday night, water raged as the outpour won't let up due to the tropical depression Agaton. The incessant rains resulted in a mudslide which wiped out parts of several barangays. According to Representative Carl Cari of Leyte, at least 25 died due to the landslide in Baybay.
Akala namin kahapon ng gabi, akala namin hihina na yung ulan, lumakas. Tapos kaninang umaga, yun na nga, may mga bundok na bumigay. May mga natabunan na barangay Kansungka, madaming missing kasi natabunan na ng landslide, saka yung doon din sa barangay Bunga.
45 more are reported to be missing, while no less than 50 have been already rescued. A quarter of the province of Leyte are now submerged in flood waters, including the towns of Mayorga, MacArthur, and Javier. In Mayorga, residents had to bring their pets and livestock as they evacuated. But some farm animals were left behind to die, resulting in losses for the owners. While feeling sorry, Ninita is still relieved that her family was rescued in the nick of time.
Sa bahay namin, marami hanggang tuho ang tubig sa loob ng bahay namin. Tumawid kami rito. Andun yung mga apo ko, itinawid namin. Buti na lang itong pinsang ko pumunta kanina dahil kung hindi kawawa kami. Hindi namin alam kung paano kami makakalabas doon.
Residents like Sosimo are lost for words as they had just lived through Typhoon Odette a few months ago.
Walang masyado hangin. Ulan talaga. Tuloy-tuloy ang ulan, magdamag, umaga. Nagising na kayo ng umaga, tubig na pala to. Ay, wala na kayo magawa.
In Javier, motorists are stranded at the national highway due to severe flooding. Even rescue units were stuck. Rescuers have been trying to reach the towns of Abuyog and Baybay, which are the two most affected in Leyte.
We do not know actually yet kung anong situation doon. Unless nga we reach the town. Mahirapan ngayon, dahil kaya man ng sasakyan. We are waiting for the truck. We have a truck. Yun ang mag-iilan nito, pati yung mga tao, para makatawid doon.
According to latest PDRRMO, nearly 300 individuals have been evacuated, while 16 out of 44 towns and cities are submerged in flood waters. Robin, Gretchen, the red rainfall warning is still up here in Leyte province and in southern Leyte. Residents are advised to be wary of flash floods and landslides. Local government officials here in Leyte, especially in Baybay City, are now appealing for help for those survivors of the landslide. They're asking for food, water, and clothing for the victims. Robin, Gretchen.
Maraming salamat and ingat kayo dyan, Romel. That was Romel Lopez reporting live from Leyte. And how is the situation in Leyte? That big question and more with Leyte PDRRMO Warning Officer Roel Montesa. Officer Montesa, welcome po to the big story. Mr. Montesa? Mr. Montesa, can you hear us? Subukan po natin balikan mamaya si Mr. Montesa. We seem to be having technical problems. Now, in the meantime, following its development, Tropical Depression Agaton made landfall at 4 p.m. today over Base Samar. Agaton was last located in the vicinity of Base Samar. It's packing winds of up to 45 kilometers per hour, gusts reaching 60 kilometers per hour. The tropical depression has weakened. It's now almost stationary. Meanwhile, severe tropical storm Malakas will continue to intensify and could enter the Philippine area of responsibility by this evening or early Tuesday. It was located 1,305 kilometers east of southern Luzon with winds of up to 100 kilometers per hour, gusts of up to 125 kilometers per hour, moving northwest. Pag-asa says Malakas will not stay within the Philippine area of responsibility for too long and will not likely make landfall. Once the severe tropical storm enters the our area of responsibility, it will be given the name Bashang. And these are the other big stories tonight. Long queues on day one of the overseas absentee voting, especially in Hong Kong and Singapore, but some irregularities have already marred the voting, such as early exit polls and some reports of pre-shaded ballots. Meanwhile, the camp of presidential bet Ferdinand Marcos Jr. claims it has the support of a good majority of governors in the Philippines. And on Tuesday, we wear pink. The residents of rival schools, Ateneo and LaSalle, are urging fans to wear pink in tomorrow's UAAP basketball game in support of the presidential bid of Leni Robredo. These big stories after the break. still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Gretchen Ho. Long queues mark the overseas absentee voting of Pinoys in Hong Kong, while an alleged pre-shaded ballot was reported in Singapore.
Despite all these, the Comelec says the Pinoy polls were generally successful. Greg Gregorio with the story.
As early as 9 in the morning on April 10, voters lined up at the Kennedy Center in Hong Kong for the first day of overseas absentee voting. Queues were so long, so much so that Pinay overseas worker Christine opted to go home instead.
Hanggang sa dulo, pumunta ako, tinry ko. Sabi ko baka hindi ko kaya na magpumila na mahaba.
A midday cutoff had to be implemented to control the influx.
Bago mag-alas 12 ay pinigil na po ang pagdagdag ng pila sa mga boboto sa mga presinto dito sa Hong Kong. Galit na galit po ang mga OFWs dahil marami sa kanila ang maagang gumising.
According to the data of the Philippine Consulate General in Hong Kong, less than 4% of the 93,000 registered voters casted their votes. The consulate said the cutoff had to be implemented as recommended by Hong Kong police as part of anti-COVID-19 measures. Hong Kong, after all, is battling a fifth wave of infections. Over in Singapore, a voter alleged to have received a pre-shaded ballot. Cheryl was told it was just a spoiled ballot. She was given a new one and was able to vote. According to the Comelec, this has to be investigated.
The chairman of the SBI make sure na walang laman ito, walang shaded or anything na ilagay doon sa balota. So kapag doon pa lang, kapag nakita na ng botante na may shaded ballots na, hindi natatanggapin dapat ni botante yun. So automatic dapat i-report niya agad.
The Comelec will also probe the alleged exit polls which proliferated online after the first day of overseas absentee voting.
Hindi natin alam o hindi nila alam kung yung mga tinatanong makatapos makaboto ay tama yung sinasabi.
The Comelec admitted to hold-ups in several areas which have yet to start voting period. That includes Shanghai, which is currently on lockdown. 5 areas, including Ukraine, also failed to conduct overseas voting. Despite these issues, Comelec said the first day of voting is still peaceful and successful. The overseas absentee voting will run until May 9. Their votes will be opened, transmitted and canvassed on May 9, same day as the polls in the Philippines. For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
Presidential aspirant Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s camp claims that they are now being backed by 73 of 81 governors in the country. This after Marcos Jr. met with 15 more provincial governors at his headquarters in Mandaluyong on Sunday. Recall that prior to this, Marcos Jr. had already met with 10 governors, supposedly backing his presidential candidacy. Quezon Governor Danilo Suarez says they support earlier claims of Narvacan, Ilocos Sur Mayor Chavit Singson that almost 90% of governors endorse Marcos Jr. The press statement did not give a complete rundown of the supposed 73 governors backing the unit team standard bearer.
Another big story in sports. UAAP arch rivals Ateneo and LaSalle set aside their differences and unite in support of the presidential bid of Leni Robredo. A sea of pink will be seen in the second round meeting between rivals Ateneo de Manila University and the De La Salle University, the UAAP Season 84 men's basketball tournament. The two schools are encouraging fans supporting the VP to wear pink in Tuesday's game at the Mall of Asia Arena. The public announcement was made by Ateneo President Father Bobby Yap and DLSU President Brother Bernie Oca. Both teams will look to give it their all as they look to start off the second round on a strong note. Meanwhile, Fiba officials along with the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas conducted an ocular visit for its World Congress happening next year in Manila. Fiba officials led by 2023 Executive Director David Crocker said they were pleased with the country's preparation. And according to Crocker, the FIBA World Congress will take place around August 20 of next year, just days before the tournament begins. Over 212 member countries are expected, and FIBA officials are excited to show the world-class hospitality of Pinoys. Time for another quick break. When we return. Foot traffic at the Parañaque bus terminal has increased immensely as more passengers book trips to the provinces for the Holy Week break. The price of gasoline is set to have another round of rollback this week. However, power rates are expected to go up. More details after the break.
You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Gretchen Ho.
The Holy Week exodus continues today as more passengers are flocking to the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange in hopes of booking trips home to their provinces.
Due to the heavy foot traffic, the LTFRB is now studying deploying additional bus units and personnel. Gerard De La Peña with the report.
Seemingly endless queues in ticketing booths and boarding gates have been the situation at the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange since last Friday, and more so on Monday as commuters try to secure their trips home in time for the long Easter weekend. According to PTEX officials, the terminal's foot traffic has reached over 100,000 on Friday, and it's expected to reach the 110,000 mark in the next 2 days. Passengers like Joel admitted that he endured the long queue without certainty that he'll be able to book a trip.
Sobrang haba. Tapos hindi mo masabi kung makakakuha ka kasi hindi mo pa alam kung may biyahe ba o wala.
Meanwhile, another factor contributing to the rising passenger volume in PTEX is the free ride operations of the EDSA carousel buses.
Una po, bumabiyahe na po sila ng maaga para sa kanilang bakasyon ng Semana Santa at yung libreng sakay din po natin sa busway.
The LTFRB assured that they are on the process of adding more personnel for faster bus turnaround time. The regulatory board is also studying the deployment of additional bus units.
Inatasan ko yung mga tao ko today to review the service plan. Ang tawag sa service plan, yung deployment ng unit. Kasi technically, when you talk about transport planning, it's really about having to supply the necessary unit to address demand.
To ensure security and safety, province-bound passengers may be asked to present their vaccination cards and government-issued IDs. Meanwhile, for motorists, the MMDA suspended the number coding scheme starting tomorrow until Friday. For News 5, Gerard De La Peña, we are One News.
For motorists out there, some good news. Oil companies have announced another round of price rollback on Tuesday. Most major gas firms announced a 1 peso drop in gasoline prices and a 35 centavo drop in diesel. Some of these companies will also implement a rollback on kerosene at 3 pesos per liter. Meanwhile, power rates will increase this April due to higher generation costs. Meralco has announced a 53 centavo rise in electricity costs per kilowatt hour from 9 pesos 64 centavos in March. Power rates for April will cost 10 pesos 18 centavos per kilowatt hour.
A couple in Cebu has gone viral for their unique pre-wedding photo shoot, which shows that love can transcend politics.
This as the soon-to-be husband and wife support different presidential candidates. Enrique Mosqueda is for Ferdinand Marcos Jr., while Divina Abella is for Vice President Leni Robredo. And despite this, the couple said that they don't let their political views get in between them and stressed the importance of respect.
The couple had initially wanted a 50 Shades of Grey themed photo shoot but went with the election concept. They said it was timely and fitting for them.
So can love really transcend politics?
Yeah, of course, pwede naman.
Talaga?
At saka mahalaga sa wedding, hindi clashing yung colors. At least pink tsaka red pwede
Medyo
pag
malapit.
diba?
Ano advice mo sa mga ganon na magkakaiba yung paniniwala?
Wala, respetuhan na lang. Diba? Pero ibang payo pa yung okay yung kayong dalawa pa lang, diba? Pero pagka nadamay na yung mga in-laws,
yung pala yung
wala na
problema.
akong payo dyan.
Well, masaya tayo para sa kanila at natuloy ang kasal. Well, that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250.
Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. Mask on.
Wash hands.
And stay safe, Philippines. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Gretchen Hall. We are One News. Have a good evening.